morning. Somebody wrote in a while ago to say that yes, he or she had committed a sin, but had repented and asked for forgiveness from God, and went to the elders to explain the situation. The elders disfellowshipped this person. Now I know that several of you will have gone through this same experience, that you've repented, but you've been disfellowshipped anyway. And if not disfellowshipped, you've been told to do penance in the form of not being allowed to answer at meetings for maybe years. Is this teaching according to the scriptures? Well, it's actually not even in accordance with Watchtower's teachings. In the Watchtower of 1985, and I'll put the reference below, they explain what the Catholic Church's teaching is on justification. That you are justified once you get baptized, that you can lose that justification by mortal sin or by disbelief, and you can regain it by penance. Watchtower goes on to say, Catholic dogma goes beyond what the Bible teaches when it claims that you are made righteous by baptism. And then they correctly state it's not baptism that washes away original sin, but it's Christ's shed blood. In the next paragraph they say, furthermore, if Catholic dogma followed the Bible, the sin-conscious Catholic would confess his sins to God, asking forgiveness through Jesus Christ. They say, the intercession of a human priest at any stage of this so-called justification has no foundation in the Bible. Why then, Watchtower, do you practice penance in the form of disfellowshipping a repentant person or forcing them not to be allowed to comment for years? That's a form of penance. It's not scriptural. How do I know? Well, there are a couple of judicial hearings that Jesus presided over, and one I've already gone over. It's in Luke chapter 7, and we know from this account that Jesus went for a meal with a Pharisee, and a woman of ill repute came up behind Jesus in verse 38. She was weeping. Her tears fell on his feet. She wiped them away with her hair. She covered his feet with kisses and anointed them with expensive ointment. She showed her love for Jesus Christ greatly. Now, what had happened to this woman? Well, she had listened to Jesus' teachings, and his teachings were good news about forgiveness and about the love of God, rather than the rule by law of the Pharisees. You must do this or else sort of teaching. So she responded to God's love by repenting from her sins, and she showed her love for having received forgiveness by what she did to Jesus Christ. Now, Jesus explains this to the Pharisee, but first of all, we'll have a look at human thinking in the form of the Pharisee. And he says this in his heart: if this man were a prophet, he would know who this woman is that is touching him, and what a bad name she has. Now, according to McClaren's commentary, this Pharisee had an unloving and self-righteous heart. And he goes on to comment that this Pharisee, instead of rejoicing in the tokens of the woman's forgiveness, confined his thoughts to her former bad character. That's man's thinking. But what was Jesus thinking on the matter? Well, he explains it in verse 47, sorry. For this reason I tell you that her sins, her many sins, must have been forgiven her, or she would not have shown great love. Jesus had given the illustration that if we have a huge debt and we are forgiven that debt, we love the person who's forgiven it greatly, because she had a huge burden taken off our shoulders. So this woman's love for Jesus was a token that she had accepted God's forgiveness, and because of that she showed great love. So, did Jesus punish this woman? Did he make her do any penance? Was she disfellowshipped? Was she told that she couldn't answer or she couldn't make comments in the synagogue or something? What he said was this. He said to her, your sins are forgiven. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. That was the end of the matter. Watchtower, why can't you take a lesson from this? You cannot disfellowship repentant people. And it's not for you to decide whether you think they are repentant or not, whether they fall on the floor with tears and so on. If they say they're sorry, you cannot disfellowship them, nor can you impose sanctions on them, because it's a form of penance which even you say is not correct. So, all these ideas, disfellowshipping, sanctions by not being allowed to do this, that and the other, is a form of penance. It comes from Babylon the Great, and Watchtower, you must stop doing these things and become like Jesus Christ in your thinking, and not the same thinking as the Pharisee. Thank you so much for watching this, and next week I hope to go into another judicial hearing that Jesus presided over, and we'll see the huge difference between Jesus and Babylon the Great. Thank you, and God bless.